Welcome to You Are Not Alone. This is a safe place to explore all things spiritual and beyond. I am spiritual medium Erica Gabriel. Hello, friends. Welcome back to You Are Not Alone. How's everyone doing? How are you guys? You know, it's interesting. As you know, I'm not an astrologer, so I'm not I can't really assess the stars, or my moon is in Pluto this month and I'm acting weird, right? So I don't always tune into that, although I love looking at the moon. And there has been a lot of moon action, people, like partial eclipses and harvest moons coming and all kinds of things. To be honest with you, I have felt it, baby. I have felt it in a way that I never have before. So I'm wondering if you guys have and how that feels for you. And hopefully our guest today will bring up something about the moon, something with a harvest moon or different moons, because she knows way more about that than me and may be able to help us with how we've been feeling a little bit. Listen, maybe you're feeling on point and you're rocking and you're shaking and all is well. But I have been feeling, I would say, out of sorts or a bit overwhelmed. So I don't want to put that on you guys, but I have. But Light Through the Darkness, yesterday I did a workshop. It was a 3-hour workshop called Tune Into Your Intuition. It was a lot different than other workshops that I have done and taught, but there was components that were similar to other ones. And the feedback has been freaking awesome. I am in love with this workshop. I think it's the best one I've ever done. If you go to ericagabriel.com, I'm going to put it up there so you guys can get a chance to take it there through my website if you missed the live. But I'm like so full today and so brimming with what happened and the incredible energy that was set yesterday and just being in that vibration with some incredible people. So I hope you guys check that out on my website. So I have a guest today. So listen, as you know, I do some what is it called? Like polls on Instagram, polls. And I did a poll on Instagram. Who do you want me to have on the podcast? And I obviously had some Michael Beckwiths in there because you guys know how in love with him I am and how much he's been such a part of my life. So I had some Michael Beckwiths, a few other people, but top of the list, guys, top of the heap, many requests for my sister. She's been on the show 3 or 4 times. She's back again in this season. They're some of my favorite episodes ever. And if you haven't heard the other episodes that she's been on, listen to them. There's a lot of cool shit in them. I mean, really, there's cool shit. We got haunted in the middle of one of them. Like, it's great. And so today is going to be great as well. And I think part of the reason why you guys are so drawn to this one, because of the power of Emelie and my sister, her knowledge, her ability to communicate information. And I think there's also, a lot of you have siblings. Many of you have ones you're close to, not close to. And it's just exciting hearing other people's dynamic and other people's relationship in an honest way. And you guys know me so well at this point. My God, we've been together for so long. So I think there's some kind of interest in also seeing what I sound like as like a normal. Actually, I'm always kind of normal in myself, but just with connections with others. So without further ado, this is my sister, Emelie Collet. She is a certified energy healer and a crystal therapy practitioner. And just to clarify, last podcast we said she was 3 years older than me, but she's actually 5. She's actually 5.5 years older than me. So I just felt the need to throw that shit out there. I'm like, she is so much older than me, guys. She is 5.5 years older. Isn't that wild? But we're as close as we are. We have another sister who's older as well. She's 10 years older than me. We're all, best friends. So Emelie, welcome back to the show.
You know what that means, that I'm 5.5 years older than you? I'm 5.5 years smarter than you.
Oh, shit.
I'm 5.5 years wiser than you.
Shit.
Yeah. There has to be a benefit here. It's not true.
Those
You're
are fighting words.
Very wise.
Those are fighting words.
Those are fighting words.
But most things you really are. You really are. But there are a couple that totally are in there that I'm like, I got you on that one.
Yeah, for sure. But I did, after listening to the recording of that last podcast, I was like, what was I talking about? I am not 3 years older.
I know, me too. And I was literally thinking about it this morning because I was thinking about our last podcast and I was like, did we say 3.5 years? I'm like, oh, hell no. I am definitely going to
Because that is not
clarify
right.
that this time so that the world knows. It is 5.5.
Because I just turned 50.
Oh,
I know
now you just
need
outed
that
my
time.
age. For fuck's sake. I'm going to tell my producer to delete that. Now you outed my age. You guys know it's all filters. It's all smoke and mirrors and facials. God damn it. Oh my God. That is so funny. Wait, I want to tell you guys a story. So Emelie and I, we're definitely, as you know, this is a very intense time. It's an intense time in our lives. We have an ill family member. There's a lot going on with, thank God, our kids, happy, healthy kids, but just a lot going on in our lives and in the world, which is definitely affecting us both as empaths and sensitives. And so we were like, let's tell a funny story. Let's tell like a really funny story. And it was challenging for us because, well, first of all, we laugh all the time, but it was challenging for us because we're feeling a little more heavy. And the only thing that I could think of let's just like tell it to them straight. This is the only thing I could think of. And there's so many, we have so many funny stories, like our pleather jacket phase, right? That was pretty funny. We went through a big pleather, like trench coat jacket phase.
We were so excited about those pleather jackets. Oh, we thought we were really
and they
looking
were
hot.
So ugly. So that, we have a lot of.
They weren't even good pleather. They weren't like high quality vegan leather. They were straight up
I think
plastic.
We got them at like Wet Seal. Yeah.
Wet Seal. I think it was a Wet Seal.
But the only other funny story I could think of, so Emelie and I, we were at our family's home, which our family has a home by the water. And we were there and we were having cocktails and we just got the giggles and we were just acting so funny. And we're just like, let's do something. Let's do a prank. Let's do a prank. On our family, and our family's like sitting in the living room, like having hors d'oeuvres and cocktails, and we're just laughing like 2-year-old, thinking we are the funniest people in the world. And Emelie is like, I know, let's put a zucchini down your shirt.
I mean, what?
And I do say this was her idea, but I went along with it. I'm the jackass. So she goes, let's put a zucchini in your shirt. And we're going to go out into the family and you'll be like, guys, I have like this weird itch like in my shirt. And then you're going to like open your shirt or like shake your shirt and a zucchini is going to fall out. And it's funny. And you're like, it's gonna be hilarious. I'm like, this is genius.
I stand by this.
I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is genius. And you're like, this is hilarious. We're like laughing, like peeing our pants, like putting this zucchini down my shirt. We go out.
This was a big zucchini. This was from the garden. This wasn't like a little zucchini like the size of a pickle. This was like a big
giant zucchini. And we go out, our whole family sitting around having a lovely time, like being normal. And we're like, we walk out and like, God, I have something in my shirt. And Emelie's like, you do? What could it be? And I like shook my shirt and the zucchini fell on the floor. And our family was like,
you guys are
they were
so
just
weird.
like, we don't get it. And we were so like, funny. That was
You took the zucchini from the kitchen. Like, what's so funny?
And we just thought it was hilarious. So I think that's the thing with Emelie and I's relationship. Like, it is very dynamic. We have a spiritual connection. We have a hilarious connection. We have
a zucchini connection.
We have what? Zucchini connection. That's our hilarious connection. We also have a connection where we tell each other stuff. And I think we've talked about this before. We don't do it every day, but like every once in a while, I'll see something in her that is going astray. And I'll be like, yo, you need to focus on this or whatever. Or she'll see something in me or I'm spiraling out and she'll be like, we need to readjust this shit right now. And we will kind of knock each other on a different path in a positive way, but it can be a little bit intense. But we don't do it all the time. There's been key points in our lives where we will kind of hit that for each other in a good way, not in a bad way. We're never mad at each other for it. Once in a while, maybe there's been times where we're like, yeah, I can't hear that right now. But we pretty much are able to tap in and really help each other out, so that's also a really neat thing we can do for each other. And we love each other. And we also love each other's husbands. Like, I mean, Emelie and Jeremy, my husband, oh my God.
We really
Oh
do get
my
along.
God. They could talk all night long. And what's weird, what
For
do you
sure.
think is unusual about our husbands?
I mean, more so when when I first met Jeremy, but they really do. There's something about them that looks a lot
It
alike.
does. They do, you guys. Like, I'll see Chris, Emily's husband, from behind him, like, hey, babe, that's not Jeremy.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some vibe that they both have. And they're very different
Very.
people, but there's something very similar about
Well, they're
them as
both tall,
well.
dark, and handsome. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So, like, they're both tall.
We
Yeah,
have a
they're both
type.
tall, dark, and handsome. So we really do have a special connection and, a connection through the spiritual realm as well. And, I think also we can hype each other up. So we have to be very mindful. So we can hype each other up in a light filled way, or we can also sometimes go dark and hype each other up in a darker way, which we've done since we were little.
Yeah.
We have.
Yeah, that's true too. But I was thinking about when you were saying we're 5.5 years apart. I'm like, I don't know how I said 3.5 years apart, because when you were born, I was in kindergarten. And I came home from school the first day you came home from the hospital, and our mom like unwrapped you. You know how you have a baby all swaddled, and put you on the bed next to my favorite baby doll. And you were like the same
Oh,
size. It was
that is
so
so
cute.
cute.
It was so cute. You were a very, very, very cute
Oh,
baby.
I'm so happy. Thank you. I love that.
It's true.
I want to go over the moon. I also want to talk about a little bit, not in detail what we were talking about, but just feeling really hectic right now in the world, inundated with news. And honestly, I want to know what crystals to avoid because people have a ton of crystals in their home. And I want to know what to avoid when we're feeling anxious or overwhelmed. I want to talk about feeling confident and really going over that. But let's start with the moon, and maybe you can help me figure out why the fuck I'm so crazed right now, because I do feel it's some of the moon.
Well, I wanted to talk about the moon because I also am not an astrologer or an astronomer. So I actually wanted to, and when we were going to record the other day, and then we didn't end up recording, but we did an Instagram live, I had prepared a lot of information, but I realized this podcast, people could listen to this in 2 years, and I want to have something that they can take away about the moon that's not relevant just to today. And also, someone had asked us recently, like, what time is sunset? And I just wanted to give the basic information that sunset is different depending on where you are in the country and where you are in the world. So you want to go online and just look up your own location and you can get specific information. But I also wanted to recommend a couple of books which are fantastic, and they are the basis of my moon study, because this is not my field either, but I know energy is my field, and this is definitely something that influences us majorly. I think women in particular, but I don't want to exclude men, but I think women have a particular connection with the moon. So the first is Moonology by Yasmin Boland. And it is a dated calendar, and it goes through what is happening with the moon cycles every week and what that energy is about and how that might be impacting you. And she also has another book. I don't work for her or anything. These are just the best books I've read. Another book called Moonology that is not dated, and it's more general. So I highly recommend both of those books. And the other book that I use all the time is this We Moon calendar. And it goes through everything that's happening with the moon and different energies and things like that. So if you're interested in learning more about the moon and how its energy might be impacting you, I really recommend those, because the more you spend time with looking at a calendar and seeing the moon phase and then noticing your own feelings and journaling about it, the more you realize how it may be impacting you. And it's like another practice of becoming in awareness of your own energy.
Do you journal?
I do. Journaling is like one of the things that's proven to reduce stress, anxiety, depression. There have been actual scientific studies about it.
Wow.
Journaling is a tool, powerful, free, tool that anyone can use to improve their energetic and mental health. I'm not a mental health professional, but it alleviates some of these stressors.
I also have a disclaimer at the beginning of the podcast, which is like, I am not a mental health person or a doctor.
No.
So if you're listening to
No,
this,
I'm not a doctor either.
If you are listening to this, you make decisions for yourself. Right.
Yes. But that study was done by professionals. So I'm referring to that. But so journaling is so important, because the only way we can really manage our energy is to become self-aware and awake. And when we're awake, then we get to make choices. It's when we are not noticing our own reactions, our own behaviors, that we can't make choices because we're not even in awareness.
Right. We kind of descend into chaos and we don't even know what's happening for ourselves.
I wanted to say something about journaling, though. I think sometimes people feel like pressure. Like, I was talking to my kids about this. They feel like, oh my God, I've got to either write every single thing that happened, and I haven't written in so long, so I would have to update my journal, like as though you have to like report on every single thing that's ever happened to you, otherwise it's not worth, but that's just not true at all. You can free yourself from that pressure and you can just doodle. You can do anything. And I wanted to share like one of my pages in my journal, because I've become much more successful journaler over the past few years, because I've released that feeling that it had to be like a record. This is one of my journal pages, and I'm going to just describe to you that it is a Honeygrow receipt with Honeygrow stickers, because it was the best salad I had ever.
I love that.
So your journal, I mean, obviously there's lots of other stuff in my journal too, but that's like a comical page. But the point is, it can literally be anything you're feeling in that moment. It doesn't have to be like analyzing every single thing that's ever happened to you in order to be effective.
What was on that salad?
That's one thing.
Like, why was it the best?
Oh man, I mean, should I go get? I don't know.
What does the receipt say?
I got it another.
Does it say what it was?
Yeah, it's had romaine. You really want to hear it?
I need a salad today, and like I'm.
It was a lot of ingredients. Okay, it had romaine, arugula, chicken, tofu, carrots, tomatoes, grapes. The grapes were the secret joy. Feta, walnuts, and white
That is a lot
vinegar.
Of ingredients. The thing that got me was the tofu and chicken combination.
Yeah, it was double protein.
That sounds very good. I need it.
I don't know why, but I was like, oh my God. And then the guy was like putting the stickers on the to-go bags. I was like, can I have one of those stickers for my journal? He was like, he like ripped out like half a roll of Honeygrow stickers. He's like, you can have as many Honeygrow stickers.
He's like, go crazy, honey.
He's like, you go, girl. Anyway,
it's funny we're talking about journaling. I have all my journals starting when I'm like 13 years old.
That is
I do.
So
I mean, I haven't
amazing.
journaled in a while, but I have my teenage journals. I pray my kids never find it. I mean, I literally wrote down like the first time I had sex, like in detail. Like I'm like, I hope they don't find it. I did it through my 20s, I write every day, but it's usually free flow consciousness for other people that I'm reading for. So then when I'm done.
Right. Which is different.
What are some other tools, including crystals, that we should use to help ourselves during this very intense time, not only in the moon, but the world, because we're all inundated 24/7 with news, and it's usually negative.
It is usually negative. And the important thing to remember is that throughout time, people have felt that the time they were in was very nearly cataclysmic and very intense.
I mean, look at the 60s.
So keeping that perspective.
Look at the 60s and like the president dying 70s. And
look at the Industrial Revolution. Like, look at the pre-child labor laws. I mean, there's just throughout history, there have been things going on. So keeping that broader perspective, I think, is very important, which is what I mean by being awake, not just reactionary. But the other thing I really recommend is, and you and I have talked about this before. I think I even did like a mini thing where we went through all the chakras, but getting in touch of where the energy is being held in your body in a negative way and in a positive way. Like where is there good flow and where is there less good flow. So I have on my website, I think, like a little chakra quiz, a self
What
chakra
is your
quiz,
website?
crystalemily.com.
Go to crystalemily.com because there's a chakra assessment that you can take. Is it free?
Oh, yeah, it's on my blog. It's just like a basic questionnaire that you ask yourself. So you sit in stillness. And this has come to me every time I have done any kind of deep meditation or deep work about how to help others. There is no way forward without stillness. You have to find a place with stillness because that's the only way. So you have to get still and then you have to notice. And notice, do I feel like when someone says, I feel really anxious, it's like, okay, can you go one step deeper into that feeling and find out where the energy constriction is that is the source of that anxiety? So you sit in stillness, notice the bottom of your torso, like if you've ever had a baby, where your perineum is. I don't know if you know that body part. It's deep in your seat, you know? Notice, is there good flow? Do you feel relaxed? Do you feel at ease? And then ask yourself, do I feel safe? And then move your attention and energy up a little bit to just below your belly button and ask yourself, do I feel creative?
Because those
And then
questions
go up
correspond
to
with what those chakras
respond to
are.
those chakras, what their core energy is about. I mean, they're obviously much more complex, but you can just do a basic question and then move up to where your rib cage comes together below your breastbone and take a breath and say, do I trust my own power? And then move up into your heart and take a breath and say, do I feel loved and lovable? Do I love? Just sit with what the reaction is to these basic questions. Move up to your throat, take a breath. Do I feel heard? Do I feel understood? Because the throat is about personal expression. And it's also about good listening, because we can't listen if we don't feel understood because we're too busy trying to be understood. And then move your attention up to your third eye. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, do I feel intuitive and inspired? Which I love your intuition workshop. You know, it's so good for the third eye chakra. And then move your attention up to just above your head. Take a breath. Am I connected? Do I feel a sense of universality, wisdom? And just breathe and just notice what is happening here. That process alone, and how long did that take me? Like 4 minutes. And noticing the reaction as you ask each question will give you a lot of information about what to do next. So let's say you started at the root chakra and you asked yourself, do I feel safe and secure? And the answer was no. Well, then you're like, okay, I'm going to do some root chakra support. The root chakra is red. It's helped by being grounded. So you might make yourself some raspberry leaf tea. You might go outside and walk barefoot. You might use a grounding crystal. My shorthand, and you and I have talked about this before, my shorthand is use the color of the chakra to increase flow to that chakra. Use the opposite color on the color wheel, and you can Google, show me a color wheel, the opposite color on the color wheel to calm that chakra down. So people want very specific crystal recommendations, and I'm always happy to do that. And I also want people to walk away with the knowledge that you can use your own knowledge to pick a crystal. So using the root chakra again as an example, you say to yourself, no, I'm not feeling safe and secure. So you want to use a red or a black crystal for that area. Those are grounding crystals. So you asked a really interesting question though, Erica, about, sorry, does that all make sense?
Absolutely. That makes complete sense. And really, if you don't know a lot about the chakras, you can also look that up online. I think there's some things on your website as well. They're energy centers in the body, colors of the rainbow, and they all represent a part of the body, a part of the energy center. And the questions that she's giving correspond with that energy center. And you can utilize those crystals.
That's
Emelie
right.
also does energetic assessments that you can get to on her website as well. They're really amazing. I mean, very amazing. And she can recommend crystals there as well. But I mean, I think what's so powerful about this is even 5 minutes tuning within is more powerful than we can ever explain. Just acknowledging yourself and tuning into your own spirit completely creates a ripple effect in your whole life.
It really does create a ripple effect in your whole life. And the magnetic energy field of your heart is 50 times bigger than the magnetic energy field of your
Wow.
brain. But we spend so much time up in our heads. And the real thing is to think about the energy that your heart is sending out, because everyone who interacts with you is interacting with your heart's energy field. So getting clear about what's going on with your energetic body and adjusting it, I think you're so on point that it's not just about self-awareness and feeling better yourself. It's also this like responsibility we have to the shared collective, the universe we live in. You know, if you've ever interacted with someone who's like really bunched up and hostile, like it can take a while to shake that energy out of your self, you know?
Absolutely. I've talked to my therapist even about that. And she said, when you deal with someone like that, it can take anywhere from 1 day to 2 weeks to move that energy through. I mean, you can speed it up, working with your energy, but you're so right. So when you manage your own energy, that's what you put out in the world, and you're actually helping the entire collective consciousness.
You are. And I personally really believe that like it is our birthright to find a way to be balanced. I believe that is like the human truth is we have a right to be balanced. And I believe we come with karmic debt from other lives, but you don't have to believe that to know that every person comes here with different stuff. I mean, I have 4 kids. I can see that not everyone comes here as a blank slate. People come here and they have different things that they're going to be working on. And the source of those is almost irrelevant. It's really that's just the truth. And so figuring out what it is we're carrying and how to release it so we can be balanced is like the greatest joy and the greatest part of the human journey, I think, because we're healing the collective.
So what crystals should we avoid if we are feeling anxious or overwhelmed?
Okay, I love this question because I have this crystal theory, and that some crystals are resting crystals and some crystals are working crystals. So that is to say, like, I wish I had a good analogy for it, but like, say you wanted to work on your heart chakra, okay? And you don't know what to do, how to work with your heart. So you might say, okay, well, I'm going to use rose quartz because I've heard that that's really good for the heart. Well, for me, rose quartz is a resting crystal. It's like a really good friend who would like hang out and like drink a cup of coffee with you to hear how you were feeling and remind you how great you are. And then let's say you were like, well, I heard malachite is really good for the heart. And I have a piece of it around here. I'll get it in a second, but it's green. It's very vibrant. Malachite is a working crystal. That's more the friend who's going to be like, no, stop moping around. You've got to get it together. You should stop doing, like that friend it's still a good
that's
friend.
Us for each other.
When we want it, but like we can also just hold space. So it's like malachite is a crystal I would definitely not recommend if people are feeling overwhelmed. It's going to push you, and you don't always want to be pushed. Sometimes you just want to be held. So I wouldn't work with any crystals that come from outer space. Like I would not work with, oh my God, I knew this was going to happen if I didn't write down notes. That green crystal that comes from outer space.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about. I have pieces of it.
It's,
Is anybody else? I'm not going to out my age again since that outs you apparently, but there is something that happens at this age where there are some small gaps and you try to make the leap to the word and you just don't have it.
I forget
else,
what
though?
it's called, but I hear you. You want, you don't want to do a crystal that's way up in the air and scattering you. You want to get yourself in the here and now.
Moldavite.
Moldavite. Yes.
Moldavite. So Moldavite has come from outer space, and that is a crystal that can take you on some pretty crazy journeys. If you're feeling overwhelmed, don't go on a crazy journey. You know what I mean? Stay grounded, stay balanced, stay at ease. So I love howlite, which is white. It's often dyed turquoise and is sold as turquoise. So if you're ever buying turquoise and it seems astronomically too cheap, it's probably dyed howlite. But if you love howlite, that's great news because howlite is wonderful. It's calming. It's good for patience. And some of what we need when we're feeling really overwhelmed is patience because we have to sit with the feeling and let it pass. And that can take a lot of patience, which is resisting that. It makes it so much worse. I also love Botswana agate for anxiety. It's very calming. But I want to say about all these crystals, it's like, let's say something really bad happened to you, like your cat died.
Why did you bring up cat?
Not your cat.
My cat ran away,
Not
guys.
your cat.
We got it back, but something's wrong with my cat.
It's back. The cat is fine.
Yes,
I'm just,
yes.
I was trying not to say something too traumatic, but like something bad
Do you
happened.
remember that song? The cat came back the very next day. The cat came back. They thought it was a goner, but the cat came back. He just went.
Well, your cat came back and she's fine. But my point is like, okay, so you know when you set up for a party, you might play some certain songs that really pump you up, okay? And they make you happy. So then you say, give me a song that makes you happy. Well, I can give you a song that makes you happy. But now let's say your cat died. If you play that song, you're not going to feel like you're about to go to a party. That's not how it works. So crystals are like that. It's like, yes, it's going to resonate with that energy, but it's not a magic pill. It's not like, oh yeah, play my favorite happy song and now I don't care that my cat died. That's just not reality. You have to be where you are and you have to start where you are and you have to figure out what you're feeling. And what we all need is support with where we are right now. So when you work with crystals, keep that in mind. Deal with what you're actually feeling in this moment, not what you wish you were feeling.
Right. That makes so much sense. Crystals are a beautiful support to the work that you're doing.
Oh, you know what that reminds me of? Do you remember when we were online shopping and I was shopping for jeans and I was like, ooh, I like these jeans. And I put them in my cart and I was with you and Annika. And she's like, those are long and lean. You need short and curvy. What are you doing? I was like, but I like how they look. She's like, right, that girl is like 5 inches taller than you.
Yeah, you like how she looks, not the jeans.
Like, right, you can't order the jeans that you like how they look on someone who's completely different from you. You have to find ones that look good on someone.
That's so savage. That's so savage.
So savage, but that's the same point. It's like you have to work with where you are.
So the other thing is you brought up a crystal from outer space, and a lot of people, and I love your perspective on this. I know it seems a little different than the other parts of our conversation, but since you're so, you're an intuitive and an empath, so many people want to know where they're from. So they're like, am I from Andromeda? Am I from Atlantis? There's this whole thing. And then they're like, am I a gray? Apparently there's gray aliens, and people are feeling like, I'm not from here. This place feels crazy to me, And then they're also saying, what's up with all the UFOs and the UFOs people are thinking. So what would you say to people right now that are obsessed with aliens? And I wanted to ask you because you are so grounded and you do have a higher level perspective. And I think there's a lot of people thinking this way. How do you feel about that?
I think there are a lot of different ways to frame our experience with things we don't know and can't see. And I think those can all be useful if they make people feel more at ease and if they make the universe make more sense to people. And they don't cause people to harm others. So to me, it's like, I believe in karma. I'm not hurting anybody by believing in karma. And you don't have to believe in karma to notice, like I said earlier, that different people are carrying different things. My explanation for that is karma, but it's irrelevant. So it's like if someone thinks they're an alien from another planet, as long as they're still able to behave in a way that is positive for the collective and they're not harming others, I say more power to you, alien.
Yeah, right. It's like it's making them feel better. So do you think we are alone in the universe?
Personally, no, I do not. Do you?
No, that would be crazy, right?
I mean, I don't think we are, but what do I know?
Yeah. And what is this?
None of
Are
us
we just in the
know.
matrix anyway? I mean, we don't know anything. But it feels
Yeah.
better to
I
be here
mean,
now, though. It feels better. I love this earth. I love this planet. It feels really good to be here, not bad, you know?
I agree. And I feel clear that we're meant to process out things that limit us. That feels like a clear message, a clear part of the journey. And my response to those feelings of like, where are we? What's happening? Feeling lost. I can't say it enough, the magic of stillness. When you sit in silence with yourself and you don't struggle, and I mean, I'm a Quaker, so this is part of what my faith practice. We sit in silence and listen. And it's not the same as meditation. It's really like connecting with something higher than ourselves. And we may even bring a question to that silence and just sit and feel peace in that answers come. And it's pretty powerful. So that kind of beyond that, I don't really need more answers, for me personally.
And I think that's relieving, just saying it's almost like a matter of trust and then trusting higher power and just saying, I surrender this to the higher power. So if someone is weary,
Like fatigued. Oh,
or
leery?
leery.
Wary.
Yeah,
Wary.
they're oh no, this is what we do. We get into these word plays with each other that can create a lot of tension in our relationship. Oh, we do this a lot. Remember Ariel,
Oh
Dara.
gosh.
We get into some shit. But so when you're
So finish the
let's say
sentence. I don't
you're
know which word
nervous
you'd be.
or you're just like
Yeah.
weary of or leery, wary
Wary.
of wary
Wary.
of
Yes.
meditation and you hear the word and you're like, oh, no, thank you. What are some quick things that people can do or some things that don't seem like meditation, but they are? Do you suggest visualizations or what are some things that we can do that kind of, I mean, there's nothing that can take the place, but what can people do if they don't want to get into meditation right now to ground themselves and to be open and receptive to some messages from spirit and God?
I think that is such a beautiful question. If you have the option to lie in the grass and look at the clouds and the trees, I highly recommend it. Sitting and just watching the trees and the leaves is just heaven. If you if you don't want to sit in meditation, but you want some kind of practice, like you're saying, that brings some of that ease. So I also think guided meditations can be lovely, and there's so many free ones on the internet, and you can literally go to YouTube and be like guided meditation to a waterfall, and someone can talk you through a visualization. But the main thing to think about with meditation is if you're able to observe that your mind is busy, then become aware that your mind and the observer of your mind are not one. So if you're able to say, I can't stop thinking about this, then you are observing your thinking. So your thinking and you are separate. And all meditation is becoming more aware of that observer and that the observer is the driver, not the thinking.
Is that the ego?
Well, I don't know. That's a whole different framework. It's like the ego just has such a strong concept of self that is very useful. It can help us from doing things that are outside of our character. It can be a moral guide and a compass, but it's also something that we try to protect beyond sense. We try to protect our sense of self beyond its usefulness. So the ego has both good and bad. But when I think about meditation, I think about like if you had a really noisy TV on in your house and you felt like, I can't even think with this TV on. Meditation is not turning off the TV. That's the active mind. Meditation is more like maybe walking into another room. So like you can still hear it. You can't lock it down. You can't stop it, but you might be able to find a way to have some space and become aware that you don't have to literally have your head inside the TV noise. You can walk away from it. And that's the power of meditation. But you did ask me, like, if someone doesn't want to meditate, I think being outside is really powerful. And I think if you're in a city and you can't get outside or lie in the grass, then I think a salt bath is a wonderful thing to do. So that's a detoxifying process. You put Epsom salt or some other high quality salt into a bathtub, and it needs to be salty. And you get in and just feel all the worries and concerns releasing from your energetic body, and then rinse yourself in cold, cold water and drink extra water. So that's another way to detox the body.
Yeah. And that's, what's interesting about what you're saying is like, these are all ways to tune in with self and give yourself some time and give yourself a moment. And I loved what you said about, walking in another room. It's like when I did the workshop this weekend, someone was saying like, how do I get rid of my fear? And it's like, you don't. It's there. Don't ridicule it. Say, oh, I see you. I see that you're in fear right now. So I'm going to give you this other option for your mind to try. You can acknowledge your fear, and then let's move over here for a minute, and do this visualization, or let's give your mind another pathway, something else to possibly think about. Right. So it doesn't mean you're eradicating the fear. You're giving yourself another option. Right. So it's like, say you're craving chocolate. Not that chocolate is bad, guys, but say you're craving chocolate, but you haven't had something else, that you wanted to have today, like a salad. Let's just use this as a very silly example. It's like, I see that chocolate is there, and maybe I'll have that later, but right now I'm going to give myself this other option of this fresh chopped salad. You know what I mean? It's like, you're never going to get rid of chocolate. Right? It's like, it's there. Again, chocolate is not bad, but I'm just saying, it's like, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You can't eradicate fear, but you can definitely give yourself something else to do or think about, another pathway.
One of the things I think about as a person who has had anxiety my whole life is, who is driving the bus? That's like my internal imagery that I use. It's like, before I had self-awareness, my anxiety drove the bus all the time. The bus being my mental state, my choices about how I was reacting to things, all of that. And as I grew and matured, I realized I didn't have to let anxiety be the bus driver. My anxiety still exists in my mental bus, but it's like in the back seat and it's buckled in. I'm driving. So it still serves a role, and I will never get rid of it. It's part of me, and it has fruits. You can't just say, oh, I don't like it, it's gone. Did everybody see the movie Inside Out?
Oh my God, people are obsessed with that, but I didn't see it.
Well, it's so good. Well, in the first one, emotions are represented by characters. And in the first one, Joy is trying to get rid of sadness. And there's this story arc where Joy realizes that sadness has an important role. And from sadness comes compassion. And Joy realizes that she has failed to be compassionate because it's not in her, but sadness has compassion. So it's this beautiful imagery. So it's like my anxiety, or anyone's anxiety, has a role. And that role is important. It warrants us. It's creative. Oh boy, is anxiety creative. It can come up with scenarios. Oh my goodness. You know what I mean? It's creative. And I don't want it gone, but I don't want it to drive. So how do we do that? And I think becoming in awareness of the self that can take the driver's seat is what meditation and journaling, all these practices are attempting to assist us in becoming aware that we're bigger than just all these smaller parts of ourselves. And we get to make choices about how to react. So like you were talking about, world news and things like that, and making a choice to react with perspective, action, and then to know that different people have different kinds of action that makes sense to them. and that they can do. So like I have friends working at the polls. I have friends making phone calls. I led a meditation group for 5 years in some of the turmoil because for me, that felt like doing something that I could do, you know? So everyone has to find their own way through it, and it has to be authentic to themselves.
That's why I think developing tools are so important, because what you're saying is when you're feeling those things, it is, doing something else to serve, right, in that moment, right? Either meditation or volunteering or whatever it may be. So discovering what your tools are and creating a practice where you enhance those tools or really become comfortable with them is your way, right? Is everyone's way. Tools, not like, it can be the meditation and you're practicing those, or it can be connecting with your guides and you're working those tools, and that's why I like the word tools, because it's like a hammer. You don't buy it, use it once and throw it away. It's something you use over and over again, right? So it's like a development.
And everybody's toolbox can be a
Yeah,
little different.
yes,
We don't all have the
that's
same
it. So
tools, you
developing
know?
your toolbox, especially as stakes get
Mm-hmm.
higher, sometimes we go, oh shit, I don't have the tool for that. So finding new tools and developing those, that is what spiritual development is, and spiritual empowerment.
Mm-hmm. And that is what, I mean, for me personally, acknowledging when you are at the limit of your tools, that is the bravest thing you can do. So like sometimes I hear people say, I have a lot of parenting theories, but when people say that a child is difficult, I really think actually what that parent is saying is that they're at the limit of their skill set in parenting that child. And that doesn't, I don't mean that in a shameful way. There, so it's the same with any situation that feels like a challenge. It's like, am I at the limit of my skill set with this? And if so, is this a skill set that I'm capable of developing? So, sometimes people are in a job that they really, really hate. And it's like, okay, well, are you going to develop the skill set needed to manage this job and still feel balanced? And if you're not, then what choices do you have? We have to constantly make these decisions when we're at our limit. And being at the limit of your skill set, there's no shame in that. That's what we're here to do. We're here to learn.
It is. It's a lot. One day at a time. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe.
Just breathe and stay in this
and
moment.
on this planet.
Always come back to this moment. Always come back to this moment. What's actually happening? It's like I have a friend who has run therapy groups in women's prisons. And one of the things she talks about with the women, so that, I mean, I think we can all agree that's an extremely stressful situation to be living in. And one of the things she talks to them about is like, what is happening in this moment? Are you safe in this moment? Look around. There are other people here talking with you, to really bring yourself into the exact moment, because we can escalate.
Absolutely.
How
can people work with you? What do you offer? And do you have crystals on your website right now?
I do have crystals on my website, and I also have recommendations on my website for other places to get crystals if I don't have what you want. There are a lot of reputable ways to buy crystals. And people do worry about fake crystals. I mean, if you go into any crystal store, most crystal stores are completely fine. There's not like a giant market for low priced fake crystals. So if you're spending $10 or $12, it may be mislabeled, but it's not fake. You know what I mean? So I would release that worry a little bit. I mean, if you're spending a lot of money, then you want to be really comfortable that it is what it says it is. And then I do energy assessment. So like what we went through basically with the chakras, I do it a much more in-depth way. So when people work with me, they can either, they book it through my website, and then they get a questionnaire from me and they send it back to me. And I work with your energy. I do a crystal card reading. I sit with the energy for a few days and I come up with recommendations, and I can deliver those recommendations to you either over a Zoom call or over email. That's up to you when you book it. And I recommend everything from crystals to essential oils to activities to, routines, things like that. Everything we talked about today are the kind of things that I recommend.
It's so special what you do. It is so special, and you're
Thank
so
you.
knowledgeable and so eloquent, and you're just a powerhouse. Thank you so much for coming on again. These are people's favorite episodes. I love you so much.
I
Oh,
love you too. And I want to do another episode ASAP because I
oh
love
my
talking
gosh,
with
me
you.
too. And maybe we'll record one of our lives or something for the podcast. We have to think of something so we can continue to engage with people that are excited about working and seeing us together. You guys can watch this on my YouTube channel. You know, you can follow me at Spiritual Medium Erica. Go to my website, ericagabriel.com. Check out my website for those workshops, guys. You can take them right there. Definitely go to Emelie's website, crystalemily.com. And I am just so honored that you all have continued to stick with me and listen to these podcasts and all of your incredible feedback. If it's in your heart, please drop me a message on Apple Podcasts. Stay in touch with me. If you literally take nothing from this episode, please take with you, with your whole heart, that you are not alone. Thank you to Emelie Collet, my beautiful sister. Thank you for listening. God bless you guys. I love you. More to come, and stay tuned as I create the next You Are Not Alone. God bless everybody.